Welcome to this episode of Small Bike Stuff. I'm one lucky man because I'm sitting here next to a Honda Dream AC15 and also a Honda Dream AC15. These are 5-speed 50cc dual overhead cam engines, and these are both throwbacks to a model that was produced in the early 60s for racing for the Honda racing team, called an RC110, which was a 5-speed, I believe, at the beginning. 50cc, which eventually became an 8-speed, turned into a 9-speed. We'll get into the history of those races, possibly in another video, possibly in this video, but I just wanted to showcase these bikes as they stand to you. So these are Honda Dream 50s, Honda's own replica of their own racer from the 60s. Let's crack into it. Welcome to this episode of Small Bike Stuff. Here we have a Honda Dream AC15 50cc bike, and we also have a Honda Dream AC15 50cc bike. Now they do have quite a few differences between them, and they're not exactly as they came out of the factory. They've both been changed a little bit, so I look forward to going through these different bikes with you and showcasing exactly what they are. I could have made 2 videos out of this. I'm going to make one. I may make another video about the physical history of Honda's 50cc racing lineage, but for now, let's kick into it. So, the engine on these things. If we have a look at the engine, you're looking at a pretty interesting shape. And to be honest with you, I need to go around the other side because this is where the money shot happens. Look at that, it's absolutely beautiful. So this engine has a nickname in the motorcycle industry as the Mickey Mouse engine, and I mean, you can see why. And why does it look like that? That's because it's got 2 cams. So this is a dual overhead cam 50cc 5-speed manual. It's got twin exhaust outlets, but it is only a single cylinder. Now these things make an incredible sound, which you'll hear very soon, and I'm really excited, to be honest with you, because this is the first time I'm ever going to be able to hear a Honda Dream 50 with aftermarket pipes. So as you can see, this one here has a pipe here and then one over the other side, so you've got twin pipes, and they are both connected, and they do both have exhaust gases coming out of them, so they're not just fake. But yeah, I've never heard one that's had a little bit of pep added to its sound, I guess you could say. And the 50cc dual overhead cam 5-speed is carbureted, it's kick started as well. There is no electric start on this bike here, or that one, because as you know, they are the same model. So that's enough about the engine. You'll hear the engine soon. That's kind of the most impressive part of these engines, is the sound that they make. I think we'll get a better understanding of how the engine sounds from this one, whereas I'm really excited to see what exhaust tone this one can bring. But when it's got a quiet pipe on it like these do, the engine really stands proud, and it's got quite a whiny sound. You'd be forgiven for thinking that this bike was supercharged or that there was a supercharged bike going past you, because it's really whiny. It's a super whiny sound, which is it's quite pleasing to the ear. All right, wheels. So these things here are 18-inch wheels, and the interesting thing about these rims is the specific shape of them. If you can see here, if I can get close enough, you've got a lip on this side and then a lip on that side, and this is how the RC110 and the CR110 rims used to be, from what I can see. I don't know if that's a strengthening thing. You know, it's not the only bike in the world that's got this kind of rim shape, but as most people know, you kind of just, it comes up and over smoothly. So that's definitely a significant difference, but they feel really, really strong. And they do have a front disc brake as well, which is pretty good. It means that you've got actually some stopping power. Now, despite the fact these are only 50cc, they can get a bit of speed going on. So it's nice that there is a disc brake on the front, supported by the telescopic suspension, and the rear also has a disc brake. So as you can see there, that same rim, and this thing here has these kind of like radial Duro tires with the classic old school pattern, whereas this one over here has just a different set of 18-inch wheels, 18-inch tires on it. So on here we've got a 2.5 by 18 on the front of the one that has the louder pipes, and it's got a 2.5 by 18 on the rear as well. This one over here with the Duro tires, we've got a 275 by 18 on the rear and a 275 18 on the front. So there's a 1/4 inch difference on the tyre sizes between the two. It will be interesting to see if top speeds are different between them. I do aim to find that out today, so stay tuned. The controls are fairly standard for a motorcycle. I mean, on the left switch block, you've got your high and low beam, you've got your turn signal left, turn signal right, and there is a cancel in the middle there. You've also got a horn button here. You've got your key, which turns on your side stand light and your neutral light, and then you've also got a turn signal light on the rev counter, and then on the speedometer you have a 60 km/h maximum speed shown, and there's a speed warning light that usually in Japanese domestic market 50s comes on at 30 km/h. On this side we don't have any switch block at all. It's just the front brake lever and then also the reservoir for the front disc brake, and then on the left side one thing I did miss is the clutch. If we jump down here, you've got your foot peg quite a way back at the rear there, and that's connected to a linkage into the engine. We've got 1 down 4 up, so we've got a 5-speed manual. When these first came in to New Zealand, I was comparing them to another 50cc manual that I'd ridden at the time, which is a Yamaha RZ50, and they were a 6-speed 2-stroke, and I did face these off, and the RZ50 in fairness had an aftermarket expansion chamber, and it also had a CDI that kind of let the revs go up a little bit higher than normal, and it had been tuned to suit that pipe. So that thing there had a bit of pep on these, but I'm really interested to see what speeds I can get out of them today. So the one with the quiet pipes over here, this bike has exactly the same setup. It's got a few less Ks on it. That one's about 11,000, this is 8. And we've got a bar end mirror here as well. And this one here's a bit different. It's got these chrome mirrors that have been added, which once again aren't exactly factory. They were a little bit different from the factory, but you know, I'm not hating. I'm still pretty happy. Other controls on these bikes, well, you've just got the kickstarter here, which nicely comes out, has ribbing on this side, and then kickstarter on the other side, and behind it is your clutch arm that comes into the clutch cable. You've got your carburetor in there as well, which I didn't really mention before, but that's more an engine thing, not a control thing. And we've got our rear disc brake here, so you've got your brake pedal here going into your master cylinder, and then you've got your fluid reservoir there, and a small little brake hose going down to the rear disc. All right, changes and modifications. Well, from factory, there's a few differences. Now this thing here arguably is a little bit more original in some ways, because this one here has had a bit of a repaint. It came into the country in a bit of a state, and this one here was purchased long before the one on the left side, but in that time the value of these went up, so I think they cost about the same, but this one here had quite a bit more of a hectic appearance, I guess you could say. If we actually get close up, you know, because I'm not going to hide it from you, and we look here, you can see the tank has kind of a little bit of discoloration, and you know, it's under the clear, which is super weird. You can kind of see that down here, you can see that shiny reflection, and then there's these little, you know, you want to say rust spots, but they're not really. And then there was obviously a sticker here from the factory, and then once that's peeled off, there's nothing underneath it. So if you've got an idea of what that is or what that might be, please let me know. Whereas this one over here has been painted, so this is kind of more of a how they came out of the factory, but this one here wasn't a bit of a state, so it's got taken off, cleaned up, and put back into place here. This is the original fuel cap that they came with, whereas over here on this one, this thing here has a giant behemoth of a thing that's different, and that's what the owners added to it. This is supposedly the original logo for the tank. This was the actual part number for a tank logo, and it came like this. So which one's right? I don't know, but they are different. This one just has HM, the Old Wing logo, and this one has HM Old Wing logo with a slight bit of accurate discoloration for the year, and then it also says Honda down the bottom there as well. This thing here, the side cover, you'll notice is black, and that's how they come out of the factory, whereas this one here has been changed up a little bit. It's been painted silver. Now when this thing came into the country, it wasn't just the oil cooler that was added on. Some dude in Japan had added like computer cooling fins onto the side of the fins to get more surface area, I guess, and give it more cooling. So it was like this thing had been in a bit of a race series possibly, but one thing I think is that this engine's had a rebuild or been apart at one point as well, because you can see the remnants of the gasket at the bottom of the engine, as opposed to this one here, which you can kind of see it, but it's not as prominent as it is on the other engine. So, you know, those aren't stock, they've just been added in there because that's what the owner wanted to do. This one came with a destroyed headlight bracket, so this has been changed into something completely aftermarket, which, you know, it suits the overall feel of the bike, but it's definitely not original. However, the headlight bucket being black is original. This obviously is not original, but you know, that is what it is. And if we go over to the other side here, we can show you that's the original headlight bracket there. So it's kind of a tiny little steel thing that's not really got that much weight to it. These are the turn signals that came from the factory on the front and on the rear. Whereas this one here, you'll notice no turn signals and no turn signals. This one's had LED changes because that's what the owner wanted to do. So as you can see there, there's LED strip for the turn signal on that side, and at the back there's a large LED strip above the number plate to give it turn signals, I guess. I actually like these a lot more. I like the factory ones, but I believe the factory turn signals were a bit destroyed on this one. So while these aren't exactly as they came out of the factory, you know, they're still tasteful in their own way, and they've had things done for a logical reason. People haven't just changed things up because it was, you know, the flavor of the week or something fun to do. Original oil cap is that down there behind the Kickstarter. This one has had a temperature gauge installed. So as you can see there, it's yeah, a temperature gauge that goes down into the oil reservoir, and I guess that just kind of gives the person an accurate reading of what their oil temperature is like, which is another reason why I think this thing saw some racing in its time. And yeah, they're both interesting bikes. Yes, there's a few modifications and changes, but I'm not too fussed about it. Probably the main modification that we haven't talked about is these pipes. Now, to talk about these pipes, we need to talk about these ones first. So you can see you've got a twin outlet from the engine there, and it comes along in a smooth pipe, Honda stamped into the side there. I'm not sure if we can get that. Let's see. There you go, Honda stamped into the muffler there. And if we can get around the back here, you can see that exit is pretty small. It's small, but it does the job. It gets the exhaust gases out. It's only 50cc at the end of the day. This thing here, you know, I didn't know that there was aftermarket pipes that were made for this bike, but they definitely seem to be made for this bike. So you've got your exhaust outlet there. And as we come down, oh, there's a crossover into the other pipe there. Okay, and we come along here. Someone's added a Yoshimura logo on the side. This is done in Japan. This is not New Zealand, so that's why it's been left. It's kind of how it came. But it's a JMCA pipe. And then if we go around to the other side, exact same situation. Another Yoshimura logo, but there's no JMCA logo. This one here has an oil cooler. So as you can see, this cap here on the side of the engine has been changed. The original one over here is just going nowhere. And this one over here has two outlets, an outlet and an inlet actually. And they come up to this oil cooler up here. So once again, leading to my suspicions that this thing's been raced. Now, I think it's time to not hold off any longer. You had a small tease at the start of what they sound like, but I haven't actually heard that yet. I haven't filmed that bit yet, so we'll do that now. I'll throw that clip at the start so you can get a bit of a teaser, and yeah, let's go and have a bit of a ride. As far as issues and things that, you know, you'd change on the bike, I'm not really brave enough to say that because I like Hondas so much that I think that these are pretty cool as they are. And I'm just keen to get out there and see how they perform. So let's do it one by one and kick into it, eh? Right, so I've taken them both for a ride, and we've got the stock one here, fairly stock engine-wise and pipe-wise, and then we've got this one with the loud pipes. Now you've heard them both. If you want to know the results, this one here we got 73 kilometers an hour, and this one here we got 63 kilometers an hour. Now it's very interesting because I rode this exact bike about 15 kilograms ago, and I got 78. I'm pretty sure was the top speed I got on that. So it's about accurate. And this thing here, yeah, 62, 63. So I've got my sneaking suspicions that this thing's been set up for a very, very light Japanese dude. We've got a light Japanese dude because he works here at Adrenalyn Motorcycles. His name's Kentaro. He's been in some of my videos before. So we'll chuck him on this bike next week and see if he gets a higher top speed or not. It'll be very interesting to find out. But one thing I did want to mention is these things, engine-wise, I didn't actually talk about the power. They're supposedly putting out about 5.6 horsepower. After that RPM range, after that RPM limit, sorry, 10.5, you're starting to lose power, but it does rev right out to 13.5, 14, so sometimes it feels like it's just more fun to do that, and I do that. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks to Simon at Adrenalyn Motorcycles for letting me look at these. I'll put a bit of a clip of the stock level in that shop at the moment. If you're in New Zealand, Google Adrenalyn Motorcycles and go and check them out. They've got some incredible stuff, but also on saying that, good luck prying it out of Simon's hands. He likes to keep a lot of his bikes. You know, it's equally a collection as much as a shop. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. These are two absolutely incredible Honda replicas of some other Hondas that were made, and these are made by Honda.